Let's bring on Tim Grunhard, a man that played for the Kansas City Chiefs, a center for a number of years. You can hear him on 810 WHP Radio, where he is a host, and follow him on X as well. Excellent content there, as always, at Grunny61. Again, on X, at Grunny61. Tim, welcome back to BetMGM tonight. Let's go ahead and cut to the chase, my man. We got news on Rashee Rice. It finally dropped yesterday, stemming from the off-the-field drag racing incident, of course, very scary and serious allegations and really crimes that were committed in regards to that. But the disciplinary hearing is going to be set for September. We don't ultimately know the outcome of how many games he's going to miss, but the rumblings are, the expectations, he's going to be available weeks 1 through 4 for this franchise. We obviously also can't read on what the NFL front office is going to do, but let me ask you this as well. Do you think there's a possibility he misses 0 games this season, with the punishment being pushed back to 2026? So ultimately, what do you think the verdict's going to be, and what is the breaking news that you have that you shared with us?
Well, the first thing is that there were some questions whether he was going to be allowed to go to Brazil for the first game of the year. I guess there's some different rules and regulations to travel into the country of Brazil. And that was brought up in a couple different avenues. And he is going to be able to. He's been okay to go to Brazil with the team to represent the Kansas City Chiefs in the first game of the year. So that's number one. I never even thought about it. And then I saw an article today that said that it was okay to go to Brazil to be a part of the game with the team. So that's number one. Number two, so the circles that I've kind of talked with, the NFL was looking at between 8 and 10 games of suspension. And this is all speculation because nobody really knows what's going on except for the commissioner, and probably that's it, probably the commissioner. And the NFLPA, who represents the player, and of course his agent, or not his agent, but his lawyer, they were hoping maybe 4 to 6 games would be the suspension, or 0, but obviously 4 to 6 games is kind of would be their happy zone. They couldn't come to agreement, so then they had to go to the judge, Susan Robinson, who was involved with a couple other different situations. I think the Watson situation or maybe the Tucker situation. And she's always ruled kind of heavy-handed. So kind of the funny thing is, it's not funny, but it's kind of sad. But the reality is that you got to wait till September 30th, which in this day and age, Susan Robinson can't find a couple of days here in the next week or two to find some room to fit in an NFL player with the NFL and billions of dollars at stake. They got to wait till September 30th to figure it out. What's our judicial system up to where you can't even get a hearing for a couple hours to figure out what they're going to do? So it kind of puts Rashee Rice in, and the NFL and the Kansas City Chiefs in a kind of a state of limbo, because you played 4 games. Yeah. And with that 4 games, now you have to decide, guys, do you keep a guy? Do you cut a guy? It happened. The roster is going to have some issues too. Sky Moore, do they keep Sky Moore? Do they cut Sky Moore, who's on the bubble? All this kind of is predicated around what happens to Rashee Rice, and they don't know now until the 30th. So it's kind of a crap show. I could use a different word, but it's kind of a crap show right now.
Yeah.
I really like what I saw. I think everybody did from Xavier Worthy to close out the season, man. Really was a different player, I would say, like week 10 on. And then Hollywood Brown, I was excited for him last year, but we never really got to see him at full strength. Out of those 2 guys, who do you think finishes with more targets, more receptions? Who has a bigger role in the offense, especially if and when Rashee Rice misses time?
Yeah, I think Xavier Worthy. I think you're onto something. And I think we talked about it last time I was on the show. Xavier Worthy even mentioned the first 4 or 5 games of the year, he wasn't quite sure what he was doing in the offense, wasn't on the same page as Patrick Mahomes, and then kind of got a good feel and really put up some good numbers in the second half of the season because he started to figure out Andy Reid's offense. And I think he starts at that point and builds there, that he'll understand the offense. He'll be a part of the schemes, and him and Patrick Mahomes, I think, have a pretty good relationship, and there's a chemistry there. Hollywood Brown's hurt all the time. He's hurt again. You know, he didn't play in the last preseason game. I think he had some lower body injury, so he's out. So the arrow isn't pointing up on Hollywood Brown right now at all in Kansas City. I mean, he just seems to be hurt all the time. He was out for most of the season last year, and now he's on the IR again. So not a good sign, but hopefully he can kind of get himself healthy and get ready for the first game. But you can't make the team in the tub, guys, and he's got to find a way to stay healthy.
Tim, I don't think this is a hot take, but I think Pat Mahomes is going to have a really big year. I bet him to win the MVP. And then we talked about this last night, Brad and I, his touchdown passes. For him to throw 30 is plus 110. You're getting plus money. Reason I like him is because, one, he's Pat Mahomes. The only concern I have is the offensive line, though, so that's where I wanted to go. Are they going to be able to protect him? But every time I turn on the TV, the Chiefs dynasty is over. Mahomes is out of shape. I don't know why you would poke the bear. We did this with New England for so many years and Tom Brady.
Yeah.
We finally get rid of them. And now we're just giving you guys more bulletin board material over there. But, so what kind of season do you expect from Pat? Can he be in the running for the MVP? And more importantly, can they protect him? Because it didn't look all that great in the Super Bowl.
Let's start with his bad body. He's got a dad body. What's wrong with that?
Right.
Come on, the guy, not everybody's going to be chiseled up. It's he can throw the ball down the field. It's not how many abs we could see in his stomach. It's how far he could throw the ball. No, I agree with you. I think he's going to. I love the idea of him being MVP, but I do think he's going to have a big year, a lot better than last year. You want to talk about the offensive line. Josh Simmons has done a great job at the left tackle position. Just a pleasant surprise for the Kansas City Chiefs if you could be surprised by your first-round draft choice. Listen, they picked him 32, and he didn't finish the season at Ohio State last year because of injuries. And a lot of people passed him up because they weren't quite sure what they were going to get. This kid has been a world beater, man. What a great athlete. He's got to work on a little bit of his hand placement and some of his punch stuff, but you pass block with your feet. And he's got unbelievable feet. He gets out in space and can move. He's like a big dancing bear out at the left tackle position. So he does a really nice job. Kingsley Suamataia, who they got slated right now at the left guard position, he struggled a little bit in the first preseason game, so he's got some things to prove. If it doesn't work out for him, I see Jalen Moore sliding into that position. Jalen Moore, I'm a big fan of Jalen Moore. Jalen Moore, every time he stepped on the field for the 49ers, competed. And I talked to some of the guys who played on the 49ers with him, and, he practiced all week with the team, and then Trent Williams used to just pop in and play the games, but all the practice was with Jalen Moore. Jalen Moore is a heck of a football player, and they're going to find a way to get the best five on the field. I think the offensive line is going to be a lot better this year than last year. So, and that's something that's got to happen if they're going to do the things they want to do, guys. We talked about it a little bit last time we were on. They're not talking about chunk plays. They're talking about big plays, throwing the ball down the field. This dink and dunk that happened the last couple of years, this is not something the Chiefs want to live in that world anymore. So I think you're right. I think his passing yards and touchdowns will be up. His percentage of completions may be down a little bit. I think you're going to see touchdowns and you're going to see some big plays out of Patrick Mahomes again, like he did when he was first out there as his first, second, and third year.
We're talking to former Kansas City Chiefs center Tim Grunhard, also a voice on 810 WHB as a radio host. Follow him on X, which is kindly at Grunny61. Again, on X, at Grunny61. Tim, GQ model, actor, and Taylor Swift lover boy, Travis Kelce is looking to put an exclamation point on his Hall of Fame career. Let's dig into his statistical potential this season. Right now on BetMGM, the over-under on touchdowns is set at just 4.5. On yards this year for Kelce, it's 700.5. Does he go out potentially with a bang this year?
I like the touchdown over. I like the under in yards. I think he's going to be more of a situational player. I think he's going to be more of a red zone player. Listen, they're always going to find a big situation, an opportunity for Travis Kelce to be on the field. But I don't think you see him in the offense every play like you used to. I think they're going to limit some of his stuff. They're going to try and keep him as fresh as they can to the end of the year. Last year, he got banged up and he just slowed down. I mean, listen, age catches us all. Getting old is not for the weak. And, here's a guy that has been out there battling and competing for a lot of years. So I think one of the things they're going to do is when they get in the red zone, you're going to see Travis Kelce out there and maybe on the plus side of the field. But I don't think you're going to see him as much. So 700 yards, I think that's a little bit of a stretch. I think maybe 500-600 yards. But I do think you're going to see him have 8 or 9 touchdowns. I think most of that would be because he's in the red zone. So, listen, Travis Kelce is always going to be a big part of the Kansas City Chiefs as a leader, as a guy that is a motivator, as a guy that can make some big plays when you need him. But he's getting a little bit older. I think you're going to see more of Noah Gray and some of the younger tight ends splash a little bit more towards the middle of the field or in the Chiefs end zone, end of the field. So.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there, Tim. We got about a minute left. I'm going to squeeze this one in. How has Isiah Pacheco looked this summer? Right now in fantasy drafts, going around pick number 70 overall, and the over-under on rush yards for him this year is set at 725.5. Does he look like the back we saw a couple of years ago?
I think he's going to get more carries, and I think Kareem Hunt last year got a bulk carries because Isiah Pacheco got hurt. They kind of brought him in to be kind of that fill in while he got healthy. As long as he stays healthy, I think he's up 800-900 yards. The Chiefs just aren't going to run the ball. I mean, they just don't. I mean, Andy Reid likes to throw the ball around the field, but I do think that Isiah Pacheco, who I think runs angry when he's healthy between the tackles, he runs as hard as anybody. He's not going to hit any home runs, but I'll tell you what, he's going to hit a bunch of doubles. He's a single and doubles hitter, and he's a consistent guy. He's going to get you 6, 7, 8 yards pretty consistently. Not a breakaway guy, but as long as he gets his carries, as long as he stays healthy, I think that's a pretty good bet.
Yeah, I have nicknamed him the Punisher because he is so violent downhill, man. Incredible watching that guy run. Outstanding stuff from Tim Grunhard. Played center for the Kansas City Chiefs. You can hear his awesome voice on 810 WHB Radio. And follow him on X as well, at Grunny61 on X, at Grunny61. Tim, we appreciate the time, all of the valuable insights, and we'll talk soon.
Love being out with you guys.
All right, thanks, Tim. Appreciate it.
Hey.
So one big thing that came out of what Tim just said, and again, this is all speculative right now, but he's hearing that the NFL could dole out an 8 to 10 game suspension. I think the expectation for a lot of people with Rashee Rice is that maybe 6, 8, almost unfathomable. 10, certainly not even on the table. Folks, it's on the table. There's going to be negotiation. Maybe they reach a median where it's like 7 games, but he is going to miss a significant portion of the season once the disciplinary action is set forth. So, man, I would avoid him at all costs in fantasy drafts.
Same, man. And I was all excited about the player. Again, the player on the field. But, yeah, there's a good chance that he does miss 10 games, man, and that they really look to make an example of him in this situation. So I wouldn't be surprised. I'm also staying away from Rice. Looking at Worthy, though. That's who I look for.